Okay, so in this video we're going to attempt to show you how to add and subtract fractions, and the way we do that is by using the LCD. The LCD, all it means is the least common multiple of the denominators. So we use the L for least, the C for common, and the D for denominator. And we find that by listing our multiples of both of our denominators, and then we see which number is least in both of those lists. So here's what I mean by that. Let's say we have this fraction 6 and 12. The common denominator, the denominator here is 6, and the denominator, let me say that again. The denominator here is 12, and this is 6. So I'm going to do my multiples of 12. That's 12, 24, 36, 48, and 60, and I could continue, but I'm not. Okay, all I did was skip count by 12, or if you preferred looking at it, multiplying 12 times 1, 12 times 2, 12 times 3, 12 times 4, and 12 times 5. I could do the same thing with the 6. I'll do 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, and so on. So to find the LCD, all you have to do is look at both lists, the 12s and the 6s, and see which number is common in both lists and which number is the smallest that's common in both lists. Because for now we have this 12 and that 12, we have that 24 and this 24, and we have that 36 and that 36. So we have multiple numbers that are in both lists. But we don't want to look at every number, we just want to look at the smallest one, the least of them all, and that happens to be 12. So I'm gonna unhighlight the 36s and the 24s, and these 12s, those are the numbers that I want to use. My LCD would be 12 in this example. So what I want to do is I want to rewrite both of these fractions as a denominator of 12. Now this one I don't have to do anything to it because it's already a 12, so all I got to do is copy it down. But on the other one I have 3 6's, so what I have to do is I have to change the denominator to a 12, and the only way I can do that is if I multiply by 2. But notice that if I have to do it on the bottom, I also have to do it on the top. If I do it to the denominator, I have to do it to the numerator. So 3 times 2 gives me 6. So my final answer is going to be 5 plus 6, because now I'm on step 3. I'm going to add or subtract the numerators, and because this is an addition problem, I'm going to add them. So 5 plus 6 is 11. And notice what it says here, keep the denominator. So I'm going to keep that 12. I'm not going to add them, I'm just going to keep it the same. And that's my final answer. 12, 11 over 12, 11 12s. Okay, I can skip step 4 and 5 in this case because we didn't have an improper fraction and we cannot simplify. Okay, but if I did have an improper fraction, or if I could simplify, I would have to do that in that case. And that's the example right here. For example, here, if I look at my denominators, they're already common. They already have 8s. So I don't have to go and find the least common denominator. They gave it to me already. So this is an easy one. I'm going to keep that denominator the same. I'm going to add the numerators. 2 plus 4 is 6. I don't have an improper fraction like step number 4 says, but I do have to simplify because 6 over 8 can be reduced. It can be simplified both by dividing by 2. So once I do that, 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. So my final answer is 3/4. Can I leave my answer as 6 over 8? No, because it's not in simplest terms. Is it a correct answer for 2 8s plus 4 8s? Yes, literally it is. 6 8s is the correct answer, but it's not all the way down to its simplest form. So I will not take this as a right answer. I will only take 3/4 as an answer. So make sure you understand that. Okay, going to the next example. We have 8 9s plus 2 thirds. Again, we're going to follow the same process. First thing we're going to do is find that LCD for the denominators. And the LCD in this case is going to be 9. Okay, I already know that one, and you probably do too. So I'm going to go ahead and skip over how to find the LCD. I already know it's going to be 9. And if you don't believe me, do your list of 3s and 9. Skip count 3, 6, 9, 12, 9, 18, 27, and so on. Okay, you already saw that the least common denominator is going to be 9. That's right there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and continue my addition. I'm going to add the numerators. 8 plus 2, that gives me 10. Uh-oh, did I do that right? All right, this is one of the common mistakes that people will do. They set up their fractions like this, and then they start adding. Well, they forgot to convert. Remember, don't skip the step where you have to do well, you have to multiply the bottom by a number and the top by the same number. In this case, we don't have to multiply by anything. We really could multiply by 1 if you wanted to, 9 times 1 and 8 times 1, but that's going to give us the same thing, 8 nines and 8 nines. So really it's useless to say that you can multiply by 1 to get your equivalent fraction, because you're basically using the same fraction. So don't worry about multiplying by 1, just copy it over to the other side, to the other step. But I do want you to go ahead and change this 3 to a 9. The only way I can do that is if I multiply by 3. That gives me a 9. So I have to do the same thing to the top. 2 times 3 gives me 6. So that's why this is the second fraction that I'm doing. So that's why it goes in the second place. So the last thing I have to do is, now that I have my denominators the same, I just keep the denominator. That's the easy part. And then the second thing I have to do is add the numerators. 8 plus 6 gives me 14. Here's an example where we have an improper fraction. Okay, and why is it improper? Because we have the numerator, in this case, is bigger than the denominator. So what we have to do is we're going to have to do a division. And to do this division, we have to do the top number, the numerator goes inside the division, and then the denominator goes outside. Okay, so the denominator is my divisor, my 14. My numerator, that's my dividend. And make sure you understand that vocabulary, because it will be on different tests and it's probably going to be used in the STAR test. So make sure you understand those vocabularies. If you have a question, write it down. We'll go over it tomorrow in class. But make sure you write it down so you can ask me about these questions whenever we get to the question and answer part of the class. So to do this division really quickly, 9 cannot go into 1, but 9 does go into 14 one time. Okay, 9 times 1 is 9, and when you subtract, you have to regroup. So this 1 is going to become a 0, and this 4 is going to become a 14. So 14 minus 9, oh, that's easy. That's going to give me a 5. And then 0 here, so 0 minus nothing is just nothing, 0. And I'm finished. I don't have to add a decimal and keep going like we did when we changed fractions to decimals. In this case, all we have to do is use this number, the quotient, as the whole number for my mixed fraction, and my remainder, that's going to be my numerator. Make sure you write this down so you can have it in your notes, and if any time you forget, then you know where to look. And the 9, my divisor, that's going to be my denominator. Okay, so make sure you understand where these numbers are coming from, because now I get to write my mixed number and I'm done with my problem. So my whole number was a 1, and the numerator was a 5, my remainder, and my denominator is always going to be a 9. It was a 9 here, it was a 9 there. We kept it a 9, and it's still going to be a 9. Okay, so my answer for this problem is 1 and 5 nines. Now this is a subtraction problem, and that's not going to be hard. It's going to be the same steps, except that we're going to have to subtract. So here my common denominator is going to be 24. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite my fractions with a common denominator. My LCD is going to be a 24. And the way I do that is I multiply the 8 times 3, that gives me 24. So I got to multiply this 7 times 3. 7 times 3 is 21. And 3 times 8 is 24. So 2 times 8 is going to give me 16. And notice I made a mistake here. I'm going to erase that plus sign, because that is going to mess me up. This is a subtraction problem. So 21 minus 16. If you don't know how to do this horizontally, go ahead and write it down vertically. It's 21 minus 16. And the way you do this is just regroup, and you end up with 11 minus 6. That gives me 5. And 1 minus 1 is 0. So really it's just 5. So my answer is going to be 5. And we keep the denominator the same. So 5 over 24, 5/24. Okay, not an improper fraction, so we don't have to go through this step that we went through over here. And we don't have to simplify because 5 is a prime number. So we're done. Okay, now let's go through the application problem right quick. Tyler ate 1/2 of the pizza and on Friday night, and 1/3 of the pizza on Saturday for lunch. How much pizza did Tyler eat in all? In all, that means we have to add. We have to find the sum. Okay, we have to add. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 1/2 plus 1/3. Well, we can't do that because we don't have the same denominator. So we're going to have to change it to a denominator, and the LCD in this case, hopefully you already figured it out, is 6. Okay, and that's an easy denominator because all I got to do is multiply 2 times 3. That gives me 6, so 1 times 3 is 3. On this one, 3 times 2 is 6, so 1 times 2 is 2. So now we add the numerators. 3 plus 2 is 5, and we keep the denominator the same. So my answer is 5/6. So Tyler ate 5/6 of the pizza in all. Okay, and that's almost the whole pizza, because it's almost 6/6, 6/6, which would be the whole pizza. So he left a little bit of that pizza without being eaten. To add the mixed numbers, all we're doing is the same steps as before, except that we're adding one more step. We're doing this one here. We're adding the whole numbers. Okay, because before we didn't have whole numbers, but now because they're mixed numbers, now we do. We have a whole number and a fraction. And it's not very hard. Here's what I mean by that. Find the common denominator. Okay, the first common denominator is going to be between 6 and 8. It's going to be 24. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite them, and I'm going to rewrite by just my fractions. I'm going to forget about my whole numbers for right now. Okay, 8 times 3 gives me 24, so 1 times 3 is 3. And 6 times 4 is 24, so 2 times 4 is 8. So now when I add this together, 3 plus 8 is 11, and I get 11 24s. But now I have to go back, and I have to add this number 12 and this 17 together, because they're my whole numbers. So 12 plus 17, if you need some extra room, you can do it over here on the side. 12 plus 17, that gives me 9, that gives me 2. So that's 29. So my final answer for this problem is going to be 29, that I got right here with my whole numbers, and then over here with my fractions got 11 24ths. So I'm going to put 11 24ths, and that's my final answer. Okay, and over here it's kind of easy, because all you have to do is add the numerators. Let's look at this one right quick, because you're going to end up with an improper fraction. Let me show you what I mean. I don't have to rewrite them. They're both 10 in my denominators. So we're going to go ahead and add 8 plus 4. That's going to give me 12 over 10. And if I add the 5 and the 4, that's going to give me 9. Well, look at what happens here. We have an improper fraction right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide. Top goes in, bottom goes out. Okay, always remember that. Remember that word that I showed you in class to always remember it. Typo, top in, bottom out. And that way you always remember where to put your numbers. So 10 cannot go into 1, but 10 goes into 12 one time. That's remainder 2, and I'm done. 1 is my whole number, 2 is my numerator, 10 is my denominator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this fraction as 1 and 2 tenths. But don't forget about this 9 right here. You have to also put it together. So that's a whole number, and this 1 is a whole number. We have to add those two together. That's going to give me 10 and 2 tenths. Now the last step here says simplify. Here's a perfect example where you have to go through all the steps, except for the first one. We didn't have to find the common denominator. Okay, so because they already gave me the 10 and the 10. But I did have to add the numerators. I kept the denominator the same. Then I added the whole numbers. Then I had an improper fraction. And now look what I have, 2 over 10. Well, I can simplify that by 2's. Because 2 divided by 2 is going to give me a 1. And 10 divided by 2 is going to give me a 5. And then this 10, that's a whole number. We don't simplify the whole numbers. We just bring them over to our answers. So my final answer is 10 and 1/5. Okay, so let's go ahead and scroll down right quick. And here's 2 more examples that I'm going to let you do by yourself. But I'm going to let you, I'm going to set this one up for you, and then you can do it by yourself. So Jessica drank 1 1/4 cans of soda during lunch on Monday, and she ate 1 1/2 cans of soda on Tuesday. So how much soda did Jessica drink in all? Well, we have to add them. First step is find that common denominator. Between 2 and a 4, between 2 and a 4, the common denominator is going to be a 4. So I'm going to put that a 4 there, and I'm going to put a 4 right here. And this one all I have to do is copy it over. But this one I have to multiply by 2. So 1 times 2 is going to give me 2. So when I add them, I get 3 on the top, and 4, we keep the same number. Now we add the whole numbers. 1 plus 1 is 2. So we add them. We end up with 2 3/4. And that's it. She drank 2 3/4 cans of soda in all. Not very hard, right?